it's like a troop, right? We keep on saying the same shit. We keep on repeating the same fucking shit. I just have to tell them, movie making 101, right? It's like Aliens. Like, you have the team, you have like the 5 guys, the 5 gladiators, 5 or 6, and you know, they all have their different archetypes. All these archetypes already exist. They've been part of storytelling and literature for fucking hundreds of years, right? You have those archetypes, and then you just have the 5 of them build up into like heightening level of tension.
Go through things with each other.
Yeah, and the action scenes are really good, and it builds in tension, suspense, and they're just working towards getting their freedom. And then just like, you don't need a big political thing where the democracy of Rome is brought back and the evil tyrannical empires are thrown over. Do you show us like the inner workings of the Colosseum, and like they show it with water and stuff? That is a theory. There are pictures with the Colosseum filled with water and ships. Maybe they did that, maybe they didn't. But there's so much like logistics and interesting stuff around that. Like the capturing of all the African animals.
It was a giant like clockwork fucking thing. It had all this cool like stuff going on with it.
Yeah,
and they could, you know, change it and lift things up and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah, it was insane for the time. It should still now even.
The Colosseum should have been a character.
Yeah, the Colosseum should have been a character.
Not Maximus.
Not Maximus. So we open with this big siege. Our main character, what's his face? Spoilers, Lucius. He's living in Africa or somewhere of the like, and the Romans come and attack.
Wow.
What an action set piece, Steve. What did you think of the scale and the depth of this?
I thought that, like all the action scenes in this, they were very well executed. I thought that the CGI, there's a lot more CGI than I prefer.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you know, it's all in service of the action scene, so I think that that's fine.
Yeah, there are some shots, big like epic scales of all the boats, where it's like, yeah, I get it. I get it. They're not going to make models. They're not making models.
The water, I don't think the water looked very good on the approach.
I was trying to look at a lot of the buildings and a lot of the stuff a lot of the time to see what was CGI, like set extensions and stuff, and there was a bit in there. But I think they built some stuff. Yeah, a lot of the ships and stuff, and the animals obviously are CGI.
Yeah, well, the animals you can't do much about. Right, so I thought the baboons, they were obviously CGI. It's obviously CGI.
You can't get a baboon to fucking do anything.
But it was good. I like the I thought the CGI in the baboon scene was distracting. Yeah. Until it engaged the main character. Yeah. And I was like, then I was involved with it, and I was like, okay.
I thought it looked good. I just, in my mind, I was thinking, like, you can't fight a baboon. Like, there's no fucking, you can't. Like,
well, that's why they didn't languish on it too long.
Yeah, he kind of got it by the chain, and he, like, pinned it against him and choked it, but like that baboon, it would just tear him to shreds.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah,
you're dead.
It doesn't matter who you are. You can be the heavyweight champion of the world. Like a baboon will just tear a human to shreds. They bite your fingers off. Yeah. They rip your face off. They rip your genitals off. Like, they'll tear you to shreds. This is a great documentary. It's by the guy that did Tiger King. I never actually seen Tiger King.
No, neither, yeah.
But he made like a sequel, kind of, but it's called Chimp Crazy. And there's this whole thing, apparently, with like middle-aged women who adopt chimpanzees, and just the sheer fucking insanity of it, and the amount of like instances. There's the famous one, but there are like all these instances.
It's the same like fucking story every single time.
They get to like 5 years old, and then they're fucking they're gone. They're gone. So action sequences look good. The scale and the depth of the sets and the costumes and everything was magnificent. But during the baboon thing, my brain was thinking, I think if they had swords and shields, that would have been cool, and that would have like evened it up a bit. But just they're like chains. You're just gonna bite your fucking fingers off.
They sedated them. They shot like darts at them.
Oh, is that what that was?
I think so, but it wasn't sort of like clear why or
how. They were
how.
sedating some so they could kill some. So
and so I guess that explains why after he defeats that baboon with such fucking, after going through such a hard time doing it, he stands up and the rest of them stand up and the baboons disappear. They're just gone.
He killed the lead baboon and the rest disappeared. They're like vampires.
Yeah, it's
if
like...
you kill the head baboon, all the baboons disappear.
Denzel Washington points him out and says, "Oh, he's interesting, I'll buy him," and then he stands up and the rest of them stand up. Over. Yeah, the battle, they're done, they disappeared. I'm like, okay, I guess. Why, are you buying the rest of them?
Oh, so yeah, overall I thought this movie was good objectively, just subjectively I wasn't engaged with any of the characters. I think that's a script thing maybe, or maybe I'm just old and jaded and cynical and tired. But yeah, I think from an objective filmmaking perspective it was good. I just didn't care about, especially the main character. I don't know, it was kind of a clone of the first movie. You go through some of the similar beats and then it does diverge off and do its own thing, kind of, while still just pinning the legacy of the old one. But it wasn't a shot-for-shot remake. But Maximus, you watch the first one and you care so much about that character and Russell's performance and his family gets slaughtered. They do the same thing here, the cliche thing, the main character's wife gets killed.
Except there's no setup for that.
And I just didn't care.
Well, it's so... I think you're right. I agree with... It's like the pacing is correct. Right? So you have your scene and then you have the whatever's going on apart from the action scene, right, to further everything along, and then you have the action scene and so on and so forth. So that's fine. But yeah, I found it from the characterization perspective to be incredibly confusing. Not that I'm confused and I don't know
his motivation
or any of that. It wasn't that. It was that they were confused.
Yeah.
It's like what are we doing? Who are these characters? What do they care about?
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. Our main character, right? So the motivation starts as revenge, and that's his through line, right? He's going, okay.
Same as the first one, same as the first one.
Yeah, and that's propelling him forward, kind of, right?
Yeah, he wants to kill Papa Pedro because Papa Pedro killed his wife.
But then at some point in the movie, it switches.
Yeah, I went to the bathroom and Papa Pedro turns out to be a good guy.
Well, even besides that, more about the motivation of the main character. He goes from revenge to caring about Rome all the way up till the end. Where he's like, we're fighting for the glory of Rome. It's like, you haven't seen Rome in fucking 16 years.
Yeah, so this is the kid from the first one, Lucius. I don't remember. I think it was kind of implied in the first one that it was Maximus' son. Maybe I just slept through that part.
It was a throwaway side glance between him and what's-her-face.
They obviously had an affair or something at some point.
Yeah.
But the kid, it's kind of ambiguous. Is it Joaquin Phoenix's kid? Is it Maximus' kid?
Yeah.
At least that's my memory of it. And I watched it the other night, and sure, I wasn't awake for all of it. But I don't remember them directly being like, this is Maximus's kid. And maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
No.
He is the kid. He goes into exile or whatever. He comes back, even with his mum, he's like, I want nothing to do with you, I don't care about you, I'm not Lucius,
Then
I'm
like
not
15 minutes later...
She comes into the cell, they have the moment, then she comes in again, and then he's like, I love you.
Yeah, I love you. Oh, Rome, the dream of Rome, he whispered, and it whispers, and it goes away, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, this is not the Rome that we're fighting for, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, why... He doesn't give a fuck about any of this. We literally just spent, fucking 45 minutes to an hour of him.
He's embittered towards Rome.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to save Rome.
And so I found that it's like he's not making decisions based on him.
Yeah.
He's not making decisions. The script's making decisions, and he's agreeing with them and going and proceeding with them. I found that to be, for me, the case with all the characters. They were, the script needs us to do this, so this is what we're doing.
That's fair. So there's Denzel Washington, he's obviously a great actor, he's great in this. He turns into the antagonist, which is different from the first one's formula. We got, like the two emperor gluttons, their violence.
Could have been an interesting idea.
There wasn't a whole lot with them there, they're kind of there. It's an interesting concept for characters, but yeah, we got lots of scenes with them, but I feel like we didn't get much out of them. They just end up dying.
Well, we got two twists, right? The first twist was that he's Lucian, which totally changes everything that we'd had up until that point. There's no revelation for him.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
Knows.
You know what I mean?
But then when he finds out, even though he already knew, that's when his motivation changed.
But we were following that character. So, and he wasn't, there was no hearkening, there was no sort of leading us along where he's fighting something or whatever. Right? It's just... you're Lucian now. And then with Denzel, the twist is that he's the villain of the movie, not the two villains.
Wow.
And
it doesn't need to be complex. It can be a basic narrative.
It could have been so much more basic.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things is that we should have had all the bits about him being Lucian and his mum sending him away at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, just make that a little interlude thing.
Because it is those scenes are direct follows on from the previous movie.
Yeah.
But we don't. It's just all of a sudden halfway through the movie. Now remember the first movie? This is actually what the story's about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they can do it where he is Maximus's son and all that shit, but obviously, I was crying in the cinema when they took him down and showed him the armor. You said it, you were like, they're gonna bring him down the armor. I'm like, there's no fucking way.
Immediately, at the moment that he's like, oh, who's that? Oh, it's Maximus. It's like,
they keep on showing the wall, they show his name scratched up 1,000 times.
There's enough shots of him from the previous movie for him to be one of the characters in this movie.
It's like they forget that we know what happens in the first one, or they expect a large proportion of the audience not to have seen the first one because it's 24 years later or whatever. But you can't make a sequel trying to make it thinking, the audience hasn't seen the first one. That's not the job of the sequel.
No.
Watch the first one. It's on fucking Netflix. Just watch the first one. You don't need to tell us. I watched it already. I watched it 24 years ago.
Imagine watching the movie, right, one night, and then the next night going and watching this movie and seeing scenes from the previous
dying
from the previous movie.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Well,
I think it's because it's 24 years later and the young kids don't know anything about anything.
That's fair, I guess, but how many sequels do you know that intersperse, good sequels, that intersperse cuts from the previous movie?
Do you imagine if Empire Strikes Back just showed scenes from A New Hope?
Can you imagine? It's like...
Shows Darth Vader killing everyone. I remember when Darth Vader killed Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Death Star. Let's talk about it.
It's like imagine Back to the Future. The same thing.
Cuts back to the first one because you haven't seen the first one. Yeah, so I guess he could be Maximus's son. That's not necessarily gonna break it for me, but yeah, they pushed it too far with the nostalgia and the sword and the breastplate. Do you know what would have happened to him after he died? Whoever was the top dog gladiator just would have got his breastplate and used it.
Now. Yeah, and then he gets lost or something.
Discarded, broken, damaged. Are they gonna have a museum of reverence for Maximus? He was a general. The crowd did clap for him, but they're not gonna save his breastplate and his sword. There's no fucking way.
See, this is the point though, right? Is the way that they inserted the fact that the movie was about Lucian, right, in the middle of the movie just came for me to be extremely odd because why is it not just the journey of Lucian rather than chopping it around. It's like he's not Lucian and then he is. You know what I mean?
I guess they wanted a twist. They want us to be like,
but then we don't have any.
It wasn't delivered in a shocking way. We just kind of stumbled into it and ambled into it.
Yeah, and it's
casually.
And we don't get any sort of. There's no genuineness for the first like hour with our characters.
Yeah.
Right, because everything is sort of supplanted by something else. It's like, okay, now
can't reveal he's Lucius yet, so we need to conceal this information, these motivations.
And so another sort of, in terms of characterization, poor characterization for me, I'll give you an example, is they had this whole thing all in the second half of the movie where all the gladiators were like following him, and then right at the end it's like, you know, will you follow me and blah blah blah. And it's like he's never talked to any of these people.
There's one guy, the doctor, he talks to.
But he's not fighting with him.
He's somewhere else. What you do, right, is you just have like, it's like a troop, right? We keep on saying the same shit. We keep on repeating the same fucking shit. I just have to tell them, movie making 101, right? It's like Aliens. Like, you have the team, you have like the 5 guys, the 5 gladiators, 5 or 6, and you know, they all have their different archetypes. All these archetypes already exist. They're being part of storytelling and literature for fucking hundreds of years, right? You have those archetypes, and then you just have the 5 of them build up into like heightening level of tension.
Go through things with each other.
Yeah, and the action scenes are really good, and it builds in tension, suspense, and they're just working towards getting their freedom. And then just like, you don't need a big political thing where the democracy of Rome is brought back and the evil tyrannical empires are thrown over. Just show us like the inner workings of the Colosseum, and like they show it with water and stuff. That is a theory. There are pictures with the Colosseum filled with water and ships. Maybe they did that, maybe they didn't. But there's so much like logistics and interesting stuff around that. Like the capturing of all the African animals.
It was a giant like clockwork fucking thing. It had all this cool like stuff going on with it.
Yeah,
and they could, you know, change it and lift things up and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah, it was insane for the time. It should still now even.
The Colosseum should have been a character.
Yeah, the Colosseum should have been a character.
Not Maximus.
Not Maximus.
So yeah, it's like, well, remember in the first movie when they're sitting around and it's been revealed that he's Maximus.
Yeah.
And they're getting the food.
Yeah.
And he gives it to the other guy to eat. And he's been with this guy since the beginning.
The big guy.
Yeah.
The tank.
They're walking,
one of the archetypes.
They're walking through in the very beginning, they're walking through the thing with all the blood and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, don't you worry, you know, blah, blah, blah. Right?
World building.
From the beginning. And he's like, and he eats it and he goes,
yeah.
And then they laugh and they all laugh.
Like a moment of,
He wanted to follow him because he knew that he was...
been through experiences and bonded through these experiences. So yeah, like even the battles, like you can't mount a rhino, right? You can't ride a rhino. You couldn't control it. Like you could get on the back of a rhino, but I don't think a rhino is going to do anything that you command it to. If rhinos were like mountable, people would have mounted them and used them as mounts. Surely? The action scenes were fine. Like I said, I think it's executed on a good level, but like, I just wasn't invested. Like, I wasn't invested in the ship fight. It looked cool. I wasn't invested in the rhino fight. It looked cool, but I didn't really care.
You know what's funny about the Emperors, right? And I actually thought that was a really great, like, interesting idea.
Yeah, the 2 brothers.
But the point is that for me, in the sum of all the things that we saw about them and their rule, they weren't even that much worse than like Commodus.
Yeah.
Of what we saw.
Yeah.
They keep saying, oh yeah, Rome's fucked. Well,
at the beginning, it's it's
Rome looks fine to me.
You don't see like peasants starving, or you see people revolting, but that's more just from specific things that happened in the Colosseum.
Yeah, as we're watching it, right? But we don't see them being crazy
you
until
see,
like the very end,
and like they like hit a slave girl and like torture her, and you know the classic like Joffrey shit.
Remember Commodus Commodus in the first movie, within the first 15 minutes, suffocates his father to death. The fucking Emperor of Rome suffocates him and then sends fucking Maximus, our main character, to be executed. That's a villain.
Burns his fucking family.
And burns his family to death.
And we care.
That's a villain.
Yeah.
In like the first fucking
These
20 minutes.
Two were partying and... Well, yeah, we're told that they are like warmongers, but yeah, we don't see them yet do a whole lot of warmongering.
We don't
if
see
anything.
You know, we get it's funny actually. One of the more interesting parts is almost towards the end with them. With old mate, it gets revealed like right at the end that he's got whatever syphilis or something.
Yeah.
And that there's this dynamic between the two brothers that they touch on right at the end.
One's gone crazy, yeah.
But that's at the end.
And then Denzel just kills them both.
And that's it.
And then Maximus Jr. kills Denzel.
Remember Maximus.
And then he says, for Rome. And then everyone says, for Maximus. And then you cut to Russell Crowe in the sky. And he's like, Mufasa from The Lion King. Simba, it is I, Maximus. Do you remember Gladiator from 2001? Directed by Ridley Scott?
Here's a supercut of Maximus's best moments.
Even the beginning, it was like just scenes from the first one, like in a painty, arty kind of thing.
His
like,
watch Mojo's top 10 moments from
Gladiator.
It was fucking obnoxious.
They just took it too far.
Yeah.
Don't do the armor, don't do the sword, don't talk about Maximus with like reverence and stuff. Have him be like, fuck Maximus, fuck that guy. Do some type of subversion or something interesting. Have him be the son of Maximus but resent Maximus and resent democracy, and him be like a grey character or something. Don't have him at the end be like, I'm here for the people, I'm here to save Rome. Does he need to save Rome? Is it just because it's a Hollywood movie that he needs to save Rome?
You gotta have like the two shots next to each other and say, I don't give a fuck about Rome. Fuck Rome too. We're fighting for the glory of Rome.
An hour later.
It's
like a week in the life of the character.
Why is he not fighting for fucking the lives lost in his home that he lived in? That got burnt to fucking shreds where his wife died.
Yeah.
Like, why is it not we're fighting for the fucking glory of Nambia or whatever it is? You know?
Not for the slaughter by the fucking tyrannical fucking Rome.
You know, it's funny, right? It's
because his grandpa in the ring. His mum gave him a ring from his grandpa.
But I don't think that was a thing. They're rewriting the law now. Okay? They're expanding the law.
And the Gladiator cinematic universe.
So, for me, the same with so many other movies, and including, unfortunately, Ridley Scott's other movies. It's a characterization problem. There's nothing... I could maybe talk about some like editing problems, right? Where so it's like you have Denzel Washington and they go, okay, say all this stuff, and then they cut it together without really like thinking about it. And a kind of a couple of the cut back shots where they cut back to Denzel are a bit disjointed or a bit weird. And that doesn't matter, right? It's just kind of what it is, you know? But if I don't care about the people in the movie...
Yeah, I'm kind of contradicting myself. I'm saying, like, objectively it was a well-executed film, and then subjectively I wasn't invested. But if I wasn't invested, that's not my fault. That's the movie's fault. Therefore, the movie's not that fucking good. I think in conclusion... Well, actually, before I get to conclusion, how much of this do you think is Ridley's fault? Because we've spoken about this before, you know, he's just a 9-year-old fucking guy. He's good at shooting a fucking camera. He's good at... Is he even, how much of it is he even doing? Is he aiming the character? Is he just walking around in like a dementia haze? Is it the script's fault? Like Napoleon, I think I made a lot of excuses that it was the script's fault. Is this Ridley's fault? Is it the script's fault?
I have a feeling, and you know, I don't, like, who am I, right? I'm not fucking Ridley Scott. I didn't make a he's a drug abuser. I didn't make, you know, some of the greatest movies of all time and all this sort of stuff, you know. But to me, having watched all these Ridley films, seeing, I seem to see like common threads that can only be, for me, Ridley.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, you've got to do this and you've got to do that. Oh no, we're not going to think too much about this part.
Yeah.
We're not going to think too much about the cohesion of
the
this
dialogue of the characters.
Yeah. Where here's the lines, you just do it, and then I'll cut it together.
I'll aim the camera at this beautiful shot.
Yeah. Having like a vista, or like framed Denzel in a really interesting way, and just have him essentially ad-lib it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like work without guidance. I know that that's a thing with Ridley.
Yeah.
He's not a character director.
Yeah,
he
visuals.
He relies on them to do it, and
stuff.
he's not going, okay, I envision the character doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how you can get the screenplay with all the dialogue and the way that it all unfolds with all the things that we talked about, like the poor characterization choices, put it under him and have him shoot it.
Yeah.
How could he not sort of pick it out and that's what's happening here? You know, where's the through line? Why is this not tighter?
Why am I not invested in the main character?
It has to be, somebody has to have a vision.
Yeah.
And they have to go, you know, we need our main character's motivation to be crystal clear.
Yeah.
You know, he's doing this for these
emotionally
reasons.
invested in. When his mum dies, they need to have some kind of reaction.
Yeah. It's like all she did was come around and talk about Maximus.
Yeah. And then die.
And then she died. You know, the point being as well is that because they chopped up him having been Lucius or Lucian and his relationship to his mother, right? You miss out on that bond.
Yeah.
You know, there was sort of, we went from him just pushing her away
to
him
talking about Maximus
and embracing her and being all this sort of stuff. But there wasn't any build up. There's no build up to anything. We're not on a journey with anybody. We're just sort of experiencing these things that are being tossed out at us.
That's fair.
And I want a journey. I want to be built up to something.
Start somewhere, end somewhere, change. In conclusion, I mean, I think it was probably good, but it would have been like a million times better if you just have 5 or 6 main characters, the gladiators, they're all the different archetypes which already exist. And then, don't worry about the big political machinations or the legacy of Maximus. Just have really good action set pieces, and then some kind of like build up in tension and suspense. If we do this final mission, we'll be set free. That's all you really need.
That would have been amazing.
This is all building to the last battle in the Colosseum, and if we can complete this as a team, you know, one of them dies and it's sad. If we do this as a team, you know, there is some treachery or whatever, and then we done it, we're free.
Yeah, we're done.
And then he gets out of it, or he doesn't, he dies or something, I don't know.
Anything. Do anything.
It looks nice. The sets.
That doesn't do anything for me.
And the CGI baboons looked nice.
We watched Dinner in America.
Yeah.
And it is the most basic of basic fucking movies.
And the characters.
There was
immediately invested in.
They're fucking, I love those characters.
I
love them. There's fucking, I was on the edge of my fucking seat.
You actually care about them and their journey and their romance.
And it doesn't look amazing. Right? Like, it looks good.
It's a small budget film.
But it didn't blow me away. Oh wow, that's a really cool action set piece that they did.
It's about like tone and pacing and the shockiness of it, but not really the visuals.
No.
It's about that like quick, choppy fucking, what is happening? What am I watching?
You know, it's...
And the shock of it. There was no like shocking moments in this.
I was shocked, but not in a good way of the reveal, right? Because
the armor was hilarious. The armor.
I said it.
I was like, no, there's no way.
Immediately.
How could his armor still be there?
The moment that he said, "Come with me," I was like, "Bam, the armor."
I thought they might do the sword. I never thought they'd do the
and then he goes and dons the armor, and it's like, out of all the possibilities that could have been of this movie to make it like a really cynical fucking sequel, right? That's like the most obvious. That's the worst version of all those. Yeah. You know what I mean?
The kid.
Yeah.
Fucking kid. He's the kid from the first one. Yeah, do you have anything else you want to say in conclusion?
I want my money back.
Oh.